Harry Morgan sat in his office on the top floor of a glass tower in Manhattan. Behind the panoramic windows, a night city opened up, an ocean of lights, which seemed to be subdued by his hands. He was a billionaire, the owner of a corporation that built cities and destroyed their destinies with a single signature. He owned the media, banks, stock exchanges, the world revolved around his empire. But that evening everything collapsed in an instant. An anonymous file opened on the screen of his laptop. An unsigned letter. It contained only a few lines. Your kingdom has 3 days left. Everything you loved will burn from the inside. Take a closer look at those around you. Harry stared at these words for a long time, feeling a chill run down his spine. He was a man who did not believe in chance. Those who wanted to scare him knew something more. He called his trusted lawyer. Michael, find out where this came from. That's impossible, boss. The letter is encrypted, sent through dozens of proxies. But, it looks like an internal one. Internal. The word hit him harder than any threat. Someone close to him was preparing a blow. That same night, while watching the news, he saw the headline, Investigation into the Morgan Corporation, Shadowy Schemes, Offshores, Bribery of Government Officials. His heart sank. This was not journalistic fiction, the documents were real, and only a select few had access to them. The phone rang. The voice of his old friend and partner, Richard. Harry, we need to talk. Not on the phone. Tomorrow. This is serious. Harry felt the ground slipping from under his feet. He had always controlled the world. But this time the world controlled him. And for the first time in decades, he felt real fear. The next few days turned into a nightmare. The press mercilessly tore his name apart, the company's shares fell, partners refused to make deals. Yesterday's allies called not for support, but to officially terminate contracts. At a closed meeting, Richard, his best friend since university, said in a cold voice. It's your fault. We warned you. Greed has its limits. And now, I'm leaving the company. You? Harry could not believe it. We started it all together. Without me, you would. Without you, I would be free. I'm tired of being your shadow, Harry. This dialogue became a stab in the back. That same night, the government froze his accounts. His luxurious penthouse was no longer guarded by servants, but by FBI agents with search warrants. But the biggest blow awaited him at home. His son Alex, a Harvard student, said to his face. You always taught me that money is power. But now I see that money is dirt. I don't want to bear your name anymore. These words broke him completely. He, the man who had conquered New York, suddenly found himself alone. He had lost his business, his friends, his reputation, his own son. And, sitting in the empty penthouse among the broken glasses, he whispered to himself. Maybe I really have become the monster they paint. On the third day, when he thought it was all over, a woman called him. Her voice was quiet but determined. Harry, you don't remember me. But I worked at your company. I saw the documents that have now been leaked to the press. They are forgeries. Everything is done to destroy you. Your enemies have united. Her name was Alice. A former financier who had once been kicked out of the corporation for her integrity. She brought him a folder of evidence, real contracts that proved that some of the scandalous materials had been falsified. Harry flipped through the pages, and for the first time a fire appeared in his heart. This was a chance. Why are you helping me, after all? He asked. Alice answered briefly. Because the truth is worth more than revenge. Together they plunged into the investigation. And what they found was worse than his worst expectations. The conspiracy was led by Richard. The same friend who had stood by his side for half his life. He had fabricated cases, bribed journalists, and used government connections. His goal was not just to put Harry out of business, he wanted to take the entire empire for himself. This discovery changed everything. For the first time, Harry felt that his fight was not for money or fame. It was for his own soul. The choice was stark: to make a deal with Richard and keep at least some of it, or to destroy him, risking being left with nothing. At a closed meeting, Harry looked his former friend in the eyes. "You didn't steal my money. You stole my life. And you know I won't give up." Richard smiled. "Without money, you are nothing. Look at yourself, broken, lonely, no one needs you." But Harry answered for the first time not with anger, but with calmness. "Maybe I am nothing. But today I will be the one who breaks you with the truth." He handed over the collected evidence to journalists, even realizing that this meant his final bankruptcy. The media exploded with new headlines: "The king fell, but dragged a traitor with him." Richard was arrested. But Harry was left without an empire, without a fortune. He had to sell everything, even his own house. But for the first time in many years, he felt a strange relief. A year later, Harry lived in a small house on the outskirts of Boston. He no longer wore expensive suits and did not manage corporations. His hands held not stocks, but books. His evenings were spent not in offices, but in conversations with his son, who had returned to him after all the storms. One day, Alex asked, "Dad, what is it like to be rich and lose everything?" Harry was silent for a long time, and then he said, "Wealth is an illusion. It gives power, but it takes away the soul. I have understood one thing: it is better to be honest in poverty than to be a king among lies." He lost an empire, but he gained himself. And as he looked at the starry sky above the quiet suburbs, the thought did not leave him. Perhaps the greatest treasure of man is not money, but the ability to start from scratch. Life in the suburbs was quiet, but the silence had its own burden. Harry often woke up in the middle of the night, hearing imaginary voices from the past: the stock market bells, the laughter in expensive restaurants, the applause at conferences. All of it had vanished as if it had never existed. And he began to ask himself, have I lost more than I gained? One day he received a letter from an old acquaintance in Washington. It said that the case against him was being reopened. The politicians were looking for a scapegoat for their own failures, and Morgan's name still carried some weight. Alice warned, "If you keep quiet, they will erase even your memory from history. You will become a symbol of corruption, even though you have defeated the system." Harry hesitated. He had learned to live simply, but could he accept that his name would become a curse for future generations? He decided to return. Not for the money, but for the sake of his name and those he loved. Harry gathered a small team: Alice, a few honest journalists, and even his own son, who agreed to be part of the fight. "Do you really want to drag me into all this, after I almost forgave you?" Alex asked. "No, son. I don't want to. But I need you to see, your father was not fighting for money, but for the truth." They began to collect new evidence: audio recordings, leaked documents, even testimonies of former politicians. It was dangerous. Harry began to be hunted: surveillance cameras, threats by phone, dark silhouettes near his house. One evening, when he was returning home, his car exploded nearby. He miraculously survived. And then he realized, now he was not playing business, but war. The climax came at a public hearing in Congress. Harry, who had once sat on the throne of money, now stood before the cameras in a cheap suit and spoke the truth about corruption, collusion, and government venality. "You can take my fortune. You can erase my name. But the one thing you can't take away is the truth. And the truth will always find a way." His words divided the country. Some called him a hero, others a hypocrite. But he had achieved the main thing: his name was no longer a brand of betrayal. The finale was bittersweet. Harry did not return the billions. He remained to live modestly, but at the same time became a symbol of struggle. His son said proudly for the first time, "You are my father. And that is enough." And as he looked at the dawn over the city that had once belonged to him, he thought, "Empires fall. But the soul that knows how to rise after falling is immortal."